So last week, I'm flipping through A Practical Guide to Fishing Flies by Martin Ford, published in 2013 in the UK. And one particular fly in his dry fly section caught my attention. It's called the Professor Dry Wing. Now, a lot of us are familiar with the Professor, a really classic old school wet fly, created by Professor John Wilson of Scotland sometime in the 1820s. It made its way to the States in the mid-1800s. Charles Orvis featured it in his Fishing with the Fly of 1883. Mary Orvis Marbury had it in her Favorite Flies and Their Histories, published in 1892. And Ray Bergman had it in his 1938 Trout. Of course, all these were the original wet fly versions, but like many popular patterns way back in the day, some innovative tiers out there changed them up a little bit and tied them in different versions. Primarily tied a little bit bigger as a streamer, but as in the case of this one, tied as a dry fly. And that's what I want to do for you today. And why is that? Really because I thought it looked fun. And dry flies are a little bit easier to tie than old school winged wet flies, and I think they're a little bit more fun to fish. So, what does the Professor tied as a dry fly imitate? Well, there's really no telling. The style is of a generic mayfly, but it's got some red, yellow, and gold in it, so I'm going to consider it a general attractor pattern. Just something you throw when the fish aren't keying on anything specific, but you want to get their attention. And I think this one makes a pretty cool looking dry fly. So there it is in the vise, a Professor Dry Wing, and according to Martin Ford, this pattern dates back to about 1820. Now, take note, I think that rib I've got on this one is just a little bit big, so this one we're going to tie, I'm going to step it down one size smaller. And for the hook, 12 to 18 are good sizes for it. These hooks, this is an Ahrex, and it's a new hook for me. A barbless standard length dry fly hook, but it does have a slight curve to it, which I think is kind of cool looking. And I'm going to use some black thread. This is a 70 denier. I'll lay a base down to about where the barb would have been. And the first thing I want to catch in, it's a tail, and it's just a few red fibers from a strung saddle hackle, about a body length. Okay, I think that's fine. We'll do a few loose wraps just to keep this in, help us build a little underbody here. Next, we'll catch in a rib. Going to be a flat mylar tinsel right here. And I'm going to tie it in with a gold side toward the hook because I want the gold showing. And this is one size smaller than the one you saw in the vise at the beginning. I think this one might look just a little better. And the body, just a yellow floss. I'm going to catch it in up front so that I can wrap it down and back, and that will give me 2 layers. You could catch it in the back and then go up, back, and then up again. You'd end up with 3 layers, and that would be fine too. But my goal here is just to cover all that black thread underneath, so take your time and wrap this back and then back up to the front. Okay, when you're satisfied with enough floss on there, go ahead and catch it off. Now let's just wrap this rib. And for the spacing, I think whatever you think looks good. On this size 12, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 wraps is probably about right. Next, we're going to catch in the wing, and these are just mallard flank fibers, and a lot of people will have done this first, but I typically like to do it after the body. And what I'll do, I'll take a good clump here and then just try to roll it through, my fingers to split them all up right here. And I am going to catch them in about where I want them to post up. So let's go about right here and take a look at that. And envision flipping it up. Is that going to be about to the top of the hackle? I think it is. It's pretty close. So let's go ahead and catch this in right here and then snip off the back. Now take your thread right back to the front and then let's post them up. Try to get them about 90 degrees. And now we'll split them a little bit. And I don't spend a whole lot of time or effort with this split. I'm not really trying to tie them spent, just to get a little bit of separation here. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Now let's catch in our hackle. And the pattern does call for a ginger, but you know, the one I saw in the book looked either like a dark ginger or even a light brown. And what I've done here, I've stripped off the fibers from the barb and a few extra, you see that, on the side that I'm going to wrap closest to the hook first. And what that will do for us is help this first wrap not have fibers going back. So if you pull it off right, sometimes you're going to anyway, but I'm going to leave that stem going up forward and then snip it off up here right behind the eye. And now I'll just wrap this. I'm going to try to get about 4 or 5 wraps behind it, then 1 or 2 in front of these wings. Because that wing I've got it a little farther forward than I really want. The one in the vise at the beginning, I had it about right, and it was closer to the back, but we'll be fine here. I just had to be careful because I am kind of getting close to the eye right there. Let's snip off this excess and we'll push these fibers back while we try to make room for a whip finish here. Okay, that should give us enough room. I just want to be careful that I don't sweep these fibers back. It is a dry fly. You want them, for the most part, coming off perpendicular to the hook. All right, so let's take a look, see if we have any cleanup. I think we're fine. I got a few fibers sticking back and maybe coming off wonky there, but I've got enough room for my head cement, and this thing's a decent fishable fly. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I have gotten a lot of comments recently on my attire, my wardrobe. So let me explain that to you if anybody's still interested. I got a new job at work recently where I'm pretty much required to wear a suit and tie every day to work, and my hours have changed a little bit. My schedule at home has changed a little bit. So when I used to come home from work and do everything, do all my chores and whatnot, I'd come down here to the bench and tie and record videos sometime between about 9 p.m. and midnight or 1 a.m. But here lately, in the last few weeks, I've been tying. My tying time is right after work. So really from like 5 to 8 p.m. So what I'm wearing right now is what I had on all day at work. I got home about an hour ago and came straight down to the bench to record this intro. So there's a couple of reasons I'm doing this. One, it's just convenient. I mean, I'm not always going to have a coat on. Sometimes I'll take the coat off, but I did leave it on for this one because I wanted to record this. But another reason is it's kind of my way to pay homage, a little bit of tribute to the gentlemen fly tyers who came before us. I love the history of our sport and digging up information on all these legendary fly tyers. And a lot of them, you see pictures of them sitting at their bench, they're wearing their coats and ties. You know, times were a lot different in the 30s and 40s, but I think it's kind of cool, and just me being a little bit eccentric and paying a little tribute to some of these old timers. And I know it seems a little bit strange, but you know, this is me. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to my dress. I'll wear a nice blazer or sport coat when I take my daughter out to the mall on Saturdays. And yeah, my wife and daughter think I'm a little bit of a nerd, but you know, hey, that's me. So that's it, folks. Really no reason other than this is how I normally dress, and I'm tying right after work instead of late at night. So that's all, my friends. Just a little idea of some of the crazy things that go through my head. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate y'all's support. See you in a couple days.